Okay, so it's hello everyone. Welcome to the first Angular Singapore meetup ever. Today we are welcoming Dmytro Mezhenskyi to talk about dependency injection. But first, we will go through just like a few minute introduction about Angular Singapore because it is just the new like branding new group, and I just want to show you guys some information and also about the community in Singapore as well. So this is the agenda for today. We go through a few minute introduction, and then we go into the talk right away. We will maybe doing some QA between, or at the end of the talk. It's depending to the guest, and then we have some open announcement so that anyone can tell us, like introduce about himself, or maybe just anything. Basically, we are very flexible. And there's a bit of conduct. It's very like standard, so I will not saying it out loud, but basically it's saying I have the right to uh, ask people to leave, or basically like that. And we have the next meetup is gonna be on the 4th of May, and I have another speaker which is very interesting. He has accepted and he gave me a talk already. In next 2 weeks, our monthly talk is gonna be on the first Tuesday of the month, and we have the Discord channel, which is hosting inside the Angular community Discord. You can come in and question and answer, or also it is a place we do the announcement for the meetup, and also we provided the support. So if anyone has any problem, feel free to go to the link, this link, or you go to the Twitter. You can book the free 15 minutes, or usually it is not limited within 15 minutes. It's like could be half an hour or an hour long. You choose topic, and you want to speak with Angular Singapore, just inbox us on Twitter, and we get back to you. So I would like to introduce about Angular APAC, which is hosted inside Angular Nation. It is the bi-weekly meetup. We have it on every Wednesday or at 7 p.m. Singapore time. And the next meetup is going to be tomorrow. We have a very close date, but I don't know. I cannot do anything about it. And in Angular Nation, there's a lot of meetup, and there's a lot of group. If you feel like you need help on Angular, feel free to open Angular Nation and get an account. For any Angular engineer, I think it's very helpful. In Singapore, we have Singapore JS, we have Junior Dev Edge, we have React Knowledge, we have Talk CSS, we also have React Singapore, and then now is Angular Singapore. I think there's many more, but that is the latest I'll take from Singapore JS. And yeah, if you have a question, just note it down, because usually we will mostly forget. And in the QA section, just feel free to drop in, or you can type the question into the chat while the guest is speaking. And this is the announcement for today, but it's later on. So with that, I would like to welcome Dmytro Mezhenskyi, our special guest today, to talk about dependency injection in Angular. And yeah, Dmytro, are you ready?
Yes, let's get started. Okay, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really proud to be the first guest on the Angular Singapore. This is a cool feeling. Now let me expand my keynote. Do you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay, that I didn't hear you for whatever reason. And that's strange if I expand my... Sorry guys, some technical issues. Can you say something right now?
Hello, can you still hear me?
Okay, fine, because it's for whatever reason too muted. and I have a feeling that I lost the connection with you. But if you have any problems, just tell me that you lost connection, so I repeat my sentences, because I expanded everything on my screen. I see pretty much nothing so far. However, yeah, today I'm going to talk about dependency injection in Angular. I picked this topic because of two reasons. First one is that I really like this concept in Angular and I like how it works. And the second one, that dependency injection, this is the one of the most crucial features in Angular, and it is very useful if you want to build really flexible components, applications, and yeah, that's why I think that not almost every Angular developer who wants to be the expert in this framework have to understand at least some basic concepts, how the dependency injection works here. And yeah, and this keynote will give some essential informations, because yeah, this is too big topic for just one keynote. And let's get started. So I like to start talk about dependency injection with mentioning that dependency injection is just a pattern, because a lot of developers who just started with front-end development, and this is the Angular is their first framework, they think that dependency injection, this is a specific Angular feature. Yeah. But it is not true. This is the pattern which is being implemented not only on the front end but also on the backend side. And as any pattern, it implements some design principle. Like you probably all know this solid principle, like single responsibility, I don't know, Barbara Liskov substitution, and things like that. Dependency injection pattern implements design principle called inversion of control. And inversion of control, this is it allows you to achieve the loose coupling between your classes and entities like that. So if to put it simple, inversion of control, this is kind of about delegation to delegation of some control to another entity. Like real life example, Trunk just delegated me to present this keynote to talk about dependency injections. So he inverted control to me. Yeah. So because this is my responsibility. Yeah. His responsibility just invite to me, and my responsibility to make this keynote. So this is kind of inversion of control. And if we go back to to code and have a look how it happens in the during the development, that's better to to see it in the in this simple example. So we have two classes, the wheel and the car, and the wheel is kind of dependency for our car, because it would be strange car without wheel, right? So and you can see here that in the constructor, when we basically create the car, we also create the wheel. And in this case, car has hard dependency on the wheel. And in this case, if we want to replace the wheel, like we want to more fancy wheel with fancy material like leather, yeah, it's hard to do this because the car has this hard dependency on concrete wheel. And if we want to replace the car or replace the wheel, we have to destroy the car and change the dependency to leather wheel and then create a new instance, which in real life, that's kind of strange behavior. Yeah, why if you want to just replace the wheel, you have to destroy the car. It's not efficient at all. And the same happens in the code. And yeah, this brings us to three drawbacks for this code. You can most probably find more disadvantages, but those are three the most important. This is the first violation of single responsibility principle. Why? Because our car also responsible for the dependency creation, which is this component should not do this. This is also not flexible because, as I mentioned before, if we want to replace the implementation of the wheel, it will be really hard and sometimes not possible to achieve it, to make it to achieve this without changing the car class. That would be not possible. We have to, in this case, modify the car. And this is the problem because the more you have touch some certain class, the more, let's say, the more chance that you make some mistake and introduce new bug. And of course, it's hard or impossible to test because we depend on concrete implementation of the wheel and we cannot mock it. And it makes the unit testing almost not possible or even, impossible because you cannot mock it and provide some, emulator of the wheel, let's say, because the whole idea of unit testing that we mocking whole dependencies for this class, assuming that they are working as we expect, and we test only one single unit, which is car in this particular case, but it would not work when we have hard-coded instance of the wheel class. So how could we solve this? The solution actually very simple. We just extract this creation of the wheel class from this class. So we provide in the constructor already instantiated leather wheel class. And it solves basically those three problems I mentioned. And the first, like, car doesn't responsible for wheel creation anymore, and we can easily replace the implementation of wheel. So we just we can create a car and put either new leather wheel or just a wheel. So we are quite flexible in it, and the car doesn't really care about which concrete implementation of the wheel it will get. So, and it easy to test because it becomes mockable. We can create the new class leather wheel mock and give it to the car. So then we can perform unit testing without any problems. And now let's have a look a bit about dependency injection pattern itself, because it was like illustration of this inversion of control. And now let's have a look at dependency injection. And dependency injection has three elements. It has the client. This is a class where we inject some dependency. In Angular context, it would be some component or directive or another service, but yeah. And we have also services. The services, those are dependencies which are being injected into the client. So like in Angular, those are called also services, most probably because they following this naming convention. And between them, there is also such a guy called Injector. And Injector, it is responsible for creation of service instances and providing them. So you can see here the records property, which is the map. And in constructor, we provide the array of tokens. Then we go in the for each loop and set to the map the value where the key is the token and the value is the instance of this token. And token, this is basically this will service class. So we get the records, the map where we store these instances for every class we provide. And then below we have the get method, which takes the token as an argument and returns instance for this token from our records property. And this is how we are using this. We create Injector, and for Injector we provide this array with the will service. And then when we create the car component, we're using get method from Injector and say that please provide me the will service instance. And then you can see in the console log that car component, the will property of car component class has the will service instance. See how it looks in Angular. It looks like this. It's a bit sophisticated thing because Angular dependency injection implementation is has a bit more features than my example, than my toy model. But you can see they're using the inject function, get or create injectable. This is basically kind of wrapper around injector get. You can think about this like this. And there also at the very bottom you can see will service. Will service, this is the reference to the will service token basically. So this is just a sophisticated version of what you see on the left example. Now let's talk about features in Angular dependency injection. Because as I told, that dependency injection, it's just a pattern, but this is not something set into the stone. Patterns can have like different implementations as well, and the implementation of dependency injection in Angular can be slightly different from what you can see somewhere on the backend. So let's continue. And first, I wanted to talk about hierarchies in Angular. Injector hierarchies in Angular, and there are two of them. We will start with the first one. This is the model injector hierarchy, and it has the main injector we usually work with. This is the root injector, and you configure it by using provided in property in your injectable annotation. So when you have the service and use provided in root, this service will be injected into the root injector. And the same happens when you configure your providers in ng model annotation. And this was to mention that non-lazy loaded modules, because a lot of people thinking that a model is kind of also hierarchy structure, but it's not really true. And what does Angular when you during the compilation time, it go through all modules, eagerly loaded modules, which are not lazy loaded, and it just collects the providers, all arrays, all these arrays, and just flatten it in one array, and everything here being registered on the root injector. But root injector, this is not the only one injector, it has also parent, and this is the platform injector, and it being configured. It is being created when you call the platform browser dynamic function. It has it provides different also services and tokens which are specific to the platform, like platform ID and a lot of others. And also at the top of this hierarchy, there is a null injector, and the main responsibility of this null injector is just to throw the error. Because if someone tries to resolve the dependencies there, it says, no, guys, I have nothing, I just throw the error. And this is what it does. And also, when you lazy load modules, you create also a child injector, and it will be the child for the root injector. Yeah. So yeah, when we lazy load model, there will be specifically for this model will be created its own injector. And then let's move forward and talk about node injector. And this hierarchy is related to our directives and components. Every directive and component has its own injector as well. And as you may know, that components and directives in Angular, this is basically tree data structure. And the same works also for node injectors. So you can build a tree of these injectors. So it can have child node injector, then grandchild injectors, and so on, so on. And now the question how Angular resolves this everything. And yeah, we have two hierarchies, node injector hierarchies and model injector hierarchy. And let's imagine that our grandchild component declares dependency on user service. And what happened in this case? Angular tries to resolve user service first in its own so-called local injector, yeah? The injector which belongs to the component which declares this dependency. If it cannot find the dependency, it asks the parent and says that, hey, maybe you have the instance for the user service. The child component checks its injector, and in our case, it doesn't have any provider. It says, no, I'm so sorry, I don't have, I will ask my parent. And it goes to its own parent. And in this case, root component has this provider. You can see under the selector, we have the providers, we have user service. And root component says, yeah, I have the provider for this service, and it returns this instance to the grandchild component. So grandchild component gets this instance. But what if we don't have this provider in the root component? So Angular does pretty much the same job. It asks parent asks its own parent. But if inside the node injector hierarchy there is no provider, Angular goes back to the component which declared this dependency, or requested this dependency, and it checks in which scope of model hierarchy it was declared. As I mentioned that if we have eagerly loaded model component, we are most probably inside the root injector scope. So Angular delegates the resolving to the root injector and asks root injector if it has the provider for it. And if it has, it returns the instance from root injector, but otherwise it goes up in the hierarchy to the platform model. Platform model already goes to the null injector, and then we get the error that there is no any provider for it. And there's a lot of people asking also how it behaves with the lazy load. So I created another slide where this grayish section indicates the lazy loaded part. In this case, Angular does absolutely the same thing. However, at the end, it will delegate resolving to the model injector, but not to the root injector, but to the child injector, because this grandchild component belongs to this lazy loaded model. So it starts from the child injector, and then it will go to the root, to the platform, to the null injector, and null injector, as we all know, throws the error. So this is how Angular traverses this node injector and model injector tree in order to resolve dependencies. And Angular also has gives you some control over how you resolve these dependencies. And this thing those things are called resolution modifiers. You most probably have seen this like annotations, for example, self. What does this self? It just tells Angular check only its local injector. So it asks on only like grandchild injector if it has some provider for it. If not, it throws the error. So it doesn't traverse the whole node injector tree and then model injector tree, sorry. Then it has skip self, and skip self tells Angular to do a bit opposite things. So it skips its local injector and starts traversing from its parent. So it will start to ask the child component if it has provider, and then it goes further to the root injector, then to model injector. Until now, you've seen that Angular throws the error when it doesn't find any provider. However, not always we want to have such a behavior, and very often we have really optional providers. So, and if you decorate it with the optional annotation, it tells Angular to not crash the application, but instead it will just return the null. And then you can already perform some, check, like if user service exists, then do something. Otherwise, just do nothing. And this is how it would work. So instead of error, we just get the null. Now we have the last one, a bit confusing one as well, the host. Very often developers are confused what the difference between self and host. But it's quite tricky. I hope you will understand. But it's better to show with example with directives. So host says that Angular should try to resolve dependency only in scope of the component view, and where it might be useful. If you, as example, have the form. So I'm pretty sure you worked with reactive forms. You know that there is the form group directive. And also you can have the form control name, or I made the simplified version of it. It's custom form control directive, you can see below, but it does pretty much similar thing what native form control name directive does. And they inject the form group, so technically it's parent. But the thing is that this form control cannot exist outside of form scope. So if you try to use form control without the form group, it's not relevant usage of this directive. And Angular also does this restriction with host. So they kind of say that if there is no form group within this view, then it's not appropriate usage for this directive, and it should either throw the error or print some warning, because our form control makes no sense outside of the form. And this is where this host could be used. I don't know how how good I explained this part, but it's really tricky until you try this to play around with this in some application, some small dummy application, and that's hard to understand how it's really works. And that was the 4 resolution modifiers, and Angular also gives you control over how to create these dependencies. Because in our toy model, we were using just a new operator and created a new instance of some certain class. But Angular gives you more options with it. And it has such a providers like use-class. Use-class works pretty much similar what I showed you in this dummy implementation of dependency injection. It just creates the new instance of better user service using the new operator, and that's it. And every time you get the new instance of better user service. Then where you can use it, as example, you have the class which where you can just replace the concrete implementation of this service. You can see I use here better user service. So it allows me to not modify my class, which consumes the user service, but replace the concrete implementation with this new better user service. Then we have useExisting provider, and useExisting it's does something similar to what useClass does, but it doesn't create the new instance of better user service. Rather, it uses already existing instantiated version, if it finds, of course. And you can use it as example for aliasing. That's very often is being used for it. As example, you have the user service, which is already legacy, but you are using this in, I don't know, hundreds of places in your application, and you don't want to replace it everywhere. You can just create an alias for user service to this better user service. And this is like very famous, let's say, use case for it. Then we have useValia, and useValia you can use when you have to provide something like something except the class, like string or just the object, because you cannot use it with useClass because it will call the new operator against the string literal and your application will fail. But sometimes you need to inject the string or the object, or in my case, the window object. In this case, you can use useValia. So this is the good example with the window, right? Then if you have some sophisticated logic during the creation of your dependency, you can use factory. This is the function where you can provide also another dependencies like HTTP client, or maybe you want to inject some your own service. You could provide the user service class, and it will be injected as a parameter for this factory function, and you can perform some different logic. I don't know, go to the server, fetch some config, do some operations with this config, and then only return properly instantiated config. So it gives you more power for the creation of the dependencies. And yeah, I think I'm in time. It was not too long. Thank you very much. This is the essentials of dependency injection. Of course, I could not cover everything because, as I mentioned at the very beginning, this is just too big topic. And you can also find more information by Googling in internet, or I have also a video series about dependency injection where in more details I explain this whole thing. Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and other social networks.
Thanks, Micho.
I would say that's it.
Thanks, man. I think it's the great one. I mean, I saw the content on the YouTube before, but it's still always good to hear you speaking in front of us. And actually, you can paste the YouTube channel link into the chat so that everyone can subscribe right after the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. You are muted.
It's gonna make it easy for us to follow you.
Yeah.
So
if everyone have any question, then yeah, you may ask, and I will try to give you answer if I know.
Yep. Anyone has any question? Feel free to unmute yourself and then just speak up. And no one has any question.
I just want to share. I learned something tonight. The @host. I had no idea that was an option or even available. So that was a really good tidbit for myself.
Great to hear this.
Thunder just showed me that a couple months ago, and I had never seen that either. And I've been doing Angular for years.
Yeah, the same.
It's not so heavily used comparing to self or optional. Yeah, optional probably the most famous one, but host, it's really.
And I could see so many great use cases in directives.
Yeah, that's I tried really to find the use cases because I have never personally used this host in my application. I just didn't need it, and I wanted to try to find any use cases, and I found only on the Angular source code for reactive forms where they used this. So yeah.
Question?
Yes.
Yep. I saw you use providers as an example for the dependency injection, right? So what about the directives? Is there any directives and then components? Can I do that as a dependency injection also?
Yes, sure. You can inject components and directives into component without any problems. Yeah, this is quite often used when you, as example, have the component and you attach some directive to this component, and then you need to call some method, as example, in this directive. So you can inject this directive to your component and call method you wanted to call inside the directive already in your component. So that you can do this.
You just need to declare that on the ng module, right?
No, you don't need to declare it. If you want to inject the directive into component, you don't need to provide it because it already has created injector, and you don't need to create this instance.
Okay.
You just inject, yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Only services, services you have to provide in modules, or better using this injectable annotation, because it will make your services also true shakeable, which
Yep.
will have definitely positive impact on your bundle size.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Anyone has any question? So,
Yeah, I do.
oh, someone. Okay, go ahead, man.
So in the case of pipes, I know when you're trying to do like a dependency injection for pipes, you always have to put them in the module to avoid errors. So I don't know, how does that work? Is it the same case with the services like you explained here?
I'm not sure I understood.
So if you want to use a currency pipe in your component, in your TS file, you have to do a dependency injection.
Inside the pipe?
But no, inside your component.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you also have to put it as a provider in the NG module. So I don't know. Does that work the same way with what you explained earlier?
I don't think so, but I think I cannot give you a direct answer because I cannot imagine it in my head. For me, this is very hard to answer something without some prototype or some code. So you can write me somewhere in the comments to my YouTube channel, or write me in the email, whatever. Somehow reach me, maybe with some, I don't know, small example, and I can give you the answer then.
Yeah, I think I understand what you are saying. Oh yeah, is it like you have a pipe and then because the pipe is like transform some kind of value, you wanted to inject it into the component. It's like you don't want to use it on the template. You wanted to have some kind of value on the component.
Okay.
So you have to you have to put it inside the module and then you have to inject it.
That's right, exactly. That's exactly right. You need to register the pipe with the module in order for it to be injected, because pipes work a little bit differently. Because it's not a component and it's not a service.
However, this is the question. I know that we declare this in the declaration to the model, but most probably this is if you want to use it inside a template. But if you want to only inject, if you want only inject, I'm not sure. Maybe it would work even without declaration.
Yeah,
but,
I've tried this one before, and I ran into problems. I actually had to put it in. I think it was in the providers because I couldn't inject the pipe into the component for usage. Because I didn't want to put it in the template, but I wanted to use the transform method of the pipe.
Well, I have never tried this. This is just my assumption that it could work without declaration if you only inject. But if you want to use in the template, you have to declare it in the declarations property. Because why I think so? Because actually you can inject any class, even you don't need even injectable annotation. This is also what is always confused, that annotations doesn't mean that this class can be injected. It means that inside this class can be injected another service or whatever. So that's why I don't see any problems with injecting the pipe, because it's in the end it's just a class. So that's why I have feeling that it would work even without declaration, but better to check, of course.
Okay. I think you have to put it into the provider, And the injectable, like for my understanding, it is for saying that that class can be injected. So my understanding is like revert, like of what you understand.
Yeah, yes, yes. I also was surprised when I first time heard this, like, what?
Which is
Changed
good.
everything I knew before.
Okay, I'll revisit it. Yeah, okay, nice. And if no one has any question, I can share a quick example, like how you can use dependency injection to just building a component. Just first of all, can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I love this guy.
Yeah. That's basically, that's if you build a component, you can pass some kind of data through the input, but at the end of the day, it's not very flexible because if you have using this component like 10 times in the same module, and suddenly, for example, this button, and you have your large, medium, and small, and suddenly you just wanted to make everything to be small, then it's going to be very difficult because you need to make change on 10 different places. And if you can use a service for that, you can basically saying, I had a service which is just technically to set the config, and then inside the component itself, you can inject the config, and then you take it from the service. And because the depend, like, because it is a service, and then you can use the same thing like you mentioned. You can use the same use value thing, so that you can override of the value of the service, and you can set maybe in the same module, maybe in the home module, you just suddenly want everything to be small, then yeah, you can do it just via one simple function call. And yeah, I think that's what I wanted to share. It's just change the way that I think of when I build a component when I read the article.
Yeah, no, this is a good example. But yeah, dependency injection has so much use cases, and it really can make your code way more linear and like easier to understand.
Yep, and also there has the example of using directive, and I think directive is something is very quite like underrated in Angular. So you guys might want to check this the article. I'll just send it on the link.
Hey Siri, I actually have a question.
Sure.
So I'm pretty new to Angular. I've been using it at work for about 8 months now. So with dependency injection in Angular, I've noticed that there's a tendency to put utility functions into services as well. Do you think that's an anti-pattern, or because, like, for example, coming from a React background, you would usually just have common utility functions for formatting things, formatting currency, formatting numbers. But I see in Angular, there's a tendency towards everything taking advantage of DI and just putting it into services. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is it a bad practice? Is it a good practice? What's the best practice?
To be honest, I don't have strong opinion on this because I saw basically both styles, and I also saw when in Angular source code, I think they're mixing up functions and services, but I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I would maybe try to work more in object-oriented way. So I would create another services and injected services inside another services. I think I would go to like this.
I can share my opinion first. I think Nathan, right?
Yep.
If you share everything inside a service, it's pretty okay. But if you start to use this kind of function on the template, I'm strongly against it. It's just like it's not good for me to say. You should if you like calling directly like on the template, you call a common thing from a service directly on the template is not good because it's gonna get like trigger train detection all the time. So you might want to consider move it into a pipe, or I don't know. Just
if it's you're going to transform somehow on the view side is definitely pipe, the pure pipes, because if you use functions in template, that's can be cause of really performance issues.
Yep, it's gonna be huge.
And I would like to
Thanks,
say,
Patrick.
on behalf of all of us, welcome to the Angular community.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hello, sirs. I have just a question coming from React. I found that the Angular dependency injection seems to be a little bit too complicated for me. For example, coming from React, what I need is just import a file or maybe just a service or a classes from a class from via SIG model import, and that's it. But for Angular, I need to import it, configure it in the ng modules like the real in the presentations, and then in the spec file, I need to repeat all of the things. So that's why I found that it took too complicated.
I don't really get the question. Not sure about Mitchell.
So
I think it's more about the opinion that Angular it's overcomplicated.
Yeah. So what do you folk think about it?
I mean, guys, it's gonna be at the end of the day, it's like the same argument between like, is it like dependencies better than hook? And because hook is like the value is reusing over and over. Can you call it like DI? I mean, so I think it's like really come down to a personal preference. And if something is work for you, you just follow it. It doesn't have to be following other thing. I would say that is my opinion on that.
Also, additionally, I wanted to say that from my experience, this is a bad idea to bring some Angular vision on some certain things to React and vice versa. Yeah, because during my current job, I have to also sometimes work with React, and I'm trying to do sometimes things like Angular way in React, and it doesn't work, and what the hell, what's going on? But it turns out that like in React way, I just have to do it. In React, I have to do it React way, and then it works more or less fine. So yeah, the different frameworks, different approaches. So yeah, I would not say that somewhere, I don't know, this inversion of control implemented better or wrong in React or Angular. I think they just different, and you just have to get used to it.
Yeah, and sorry for cutting, but we are very like on top of the hour. I would like to move to the open announcement. Sorry, Wanhao, I saw the question, but maybe you just write me a message on Twitter, and I will answer it. So I was just trying to wrap it up, and we are not too late for the first meetup ever. So now it's the open announcement. So basically, anyone want to announce something, any job opportunity, like anything, can just come and say hi. Just remember to unmute yourself. And I'm good. I think Junjang has something to say for sure.
Yeah, I think I saw Bonnie raise her hand first. Maybe Bonnie, you can go first.
Oh, okay. Then Bonnie then.
I can go very quick. I want to let you know that I started architect training again this week. So if you want to do Angular architect training with me on Angular Nation, it's not too late to join the live session and you can train with me. Also, we have a job fair, Angular Nation job fair coming up this weekend. And the hallway track with the Angular team is coming up a week from today. That's it.
Yeah, so be sure to join Angular Nation. There's a lot of event on there. It's like there's a meetup with Angular team. You like actually hear other people from Angular team speaking, and also like asking the GD meetup, which is really great. Like you have the top of the guy there. So yeah, thanks, Bonnie.
And we don't advertise this stuff on Twitter, so it's actually there's not that many other people in there with the Angular team, and you get to like hang out with a small group. It's cool. I think so.
I agree.
Just don't tell anyone.
Then yeah, Juja, feel free.
Hey Chung, do you mind if I share a quick PDF on the screen?
Sure, no problem. Let me
Alright.
stop sharing.
Don't worry if we go over, Trung. We're not leaving.
Okay, we can see my screen. I will. Okay, presenting now.
Oh, okay.
It's being loaded.
Yeah, just give it a two-minute quick intro. Just a quick intro about the company that I work for and we're hiring. We are fintech in Singapore with various offices around the world, but now we are accepting also fully remote employees. We build basically SaaS products around loyalty for companies, big loyalty companies around the world like Marriott, Amex, Visa, etc. One cool thing is we are big users of Angular. In fact, our front end is pretty much purely in Angular. Our older front ends are on AngularJS, and that's being upgraded to Angular recently and making great progress there. So just a quick plug that we are now expanding quite rapidly, and we're looking for front-end engineers at all levels, whether you're junior, whether you're principal level or lead level, we're open to talking to you. And whether you want to work in one of our offices around the world or fully remote, that's fine for us too. So please let me know or come to our career site or email this particular email here to get more information, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. So that's my quick 2 minutes. And I will be obviously posting this on maybe the Angular Nation job board as well. Thanks, guys.
I just put a note for you
Thank
in the chat. You should join our job fair next weekend. It's not too late. We have 29 developers signed up, and it's free. Free.
Okay,
saying.
I will be
saying.
joining it. Thank you.
So. Oh, yeah, I think anyone else has anything? Are you looking for a job or something similar? Feel free.
Can I just jump in and say congratulations, Chung, because everybody's talking about you. Everybody's talking about how cool you are. Everybody's talking about this Spotify thing. And I just want to tell everybody, like, I knew him before he was famous. But I actually didn't, because you were already kind of famous when I found you. But I just want to say congratulations, because it's really cool that everybody really likes this project that you're working on. And I'm assuming that you're going to put a presentation on the calendar soon.
I think I put it for Angular Air.
Did you sign up for Angular Air? Okay,
Yeah,
so after Angular Air, then we'll do like a after party hangout with you, and you can sign autographs and everything.
Sure. I'll do it.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for the support. Thanks, Bonnie.
You're welcome.
And I think we are quite. I mean, not too late. Let's just 3 minutes left. So if I can make another 2 minutes, I'm good with that. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing?
For sure.
I just want to say hello to Anthony Miller, because I'm so happy to see Anthony Miller, and I haven't seen him in forever, and I really like you. And I'm sorry that you're not here, because we could drink beer together, and that was so fun. Remember that? That was fun.
It was.
I really
indeed.
miss you. Someday we're
miss
going
you
to travel
too.
again. Who
Yes.
the hell would think that we would run into each other in Angular Singapore?
Angular
Like, that's so
Singapore, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to say hi. Thank you, Trung.
No worries. I think it's for connecting people. Yeah, and I'm happy to see this connection. And actually, I saw Anthony on Twitter for a few times, but this is the first time I actually see him.
Well, the time
I
zone
met him.
works.
I think it was Anthony and Duncan, and it was at a conference, and we were like we were drinking, we bonded, we became like endless friends, and we had so much fun. And then I didn't remember their names, but the next year I saw them again at the same conference, and I was like, it's the Aussies! And I was just like so happy, and I was like running down the hallway going, ah! It was great. I've always just had a soft spot in my heart for these two guys, because they're so fun.
Thanks.
Now I even know their names.
All right, guys. Yeah, it's great to see everyone today. Thanks for joining. I mean, there's more people joining than I expect, because it's just the first meetup ever. But yeah, really appreciate your time and spend a lovely evening with me. And what else? Yeah.
Thanks, Dmytro.
Thanks for organizing.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.